um, NLT.
Okay, cool. Cool. That's Carmen. Next person.
I read it just about every day, and I tried to pick a different translation every day. So
Well,
it
that's a
was
good
really
idea.
varied.
Okay. What some of the translations did you do?
I did the NASB, the ESV, the NIV, the New King James, and then there was one I
Oh,
hadn't done before. Let me see if I can pull it up. Nope. It was like something Jewish Bible.
Okay, cool. All right, that's Janet and Carmen. Who's next?
Yeah,
I
I listened to it
Mm-hmm.
in Nashville a couple of times, but I seem to have dropped the ball somewhere. I was preparing for six, even though I was listening to the whole book of Esther. I was preparing six instead of seven.
Oh, okay. That's all right. You'll be able to hang with us. All right. And Donna, I think you were unmuted. That's all it told me, Janet and Carmen. Now Donna.
I just read it in the NASB, but I wrote it down and I've been writing a chapter every time. So yeah, just once for me.
Okay, that's cool. One time works too. One time works too. Remember, this is you can do as light or as deep as you want to go. All right. So that was Janet, Olatomi, Donna, and Carmen. Who's next?
Whoops, I was on mute. I'll go.
Okay.
Um, this time because I had some questions about some words. I read it 8 times. With the NASB, the NIV, the NLT, the CJB, the CSB, the KJV, Young's Literal Translation, which is a really good translation, and the American Standard Version.
That's just.
Which one did you leave out, Lisa?
What was the question?
Which one did you leave out? Since I read all of them.
There's a lot of versions, so I left out a lot. But anyway.
That's Lisa.
It's Karen.
Hey, Karen.
Hi. I read it in 4. I read it in the New King James, the ESV, the NLT, and the CSB.
Very good. That's Karen, Lisa, Olatomi, Janet, Carmen, and Donna.
mm-hmm.
Who else? Let me see.
Thanks,
Sherry? Okay. Is she still here?
I don't know.
Maybe she's having a problem with audio. Thank you. Are you having problems with audio, Sherry? Type in and let us know if you're having problems with your audio. I got a water bed.
She's on mute.
But she unmuted.
No, she's Sherry.
Yeah, we don't hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Yes,
Yes.
we can.
Okay. I'm sorry. I've just been babbling away here. I read it 3 times in NASB, ESV, and CJB.
Very good, ladies. And I will say that Lisa is my sister from another mother. Because we were similar this week. This is the most I've ever read one chapter in the book of Esther. I think I may have read it maybe 8 times myself, which I thought was interesting because she's right. A couple of the words, and I did mine while out. You know, I utilized time while out, so I sat and read it and read it and read it. And I read it in what I can remember because I had no paper with me. I literally just read. So I read it in the NASB, of course. And I read it in NASB at least 3 times. New King James Version, CJB, NLT, ESV, and I think I read it in couple of more versions. I just can't remember what they were because I think Amplified. I did a
did
few
the
of them.
Amplified.
Yeah, I did a few of them, and it was because, like she said, of some of the wording. And And so I read it maybe about 8 times myself or more. I think I read it more than that, but I read it in NASB at least 3 or 4 times. So that's why it's more. So I spent a lot, and I thought that was interesting for this chapter. I mean, for all the chapters, right? I read it several times. So it's a very interesting chapter, and so I can't wait to get into it with you. So let's get started and get on into this chapter because I think it's going to be some interesting things here. And so let me ask this question right at the onset. What is the time frame of this chapter? The year of the king's reign and the timing of the chapter. That's what I'm looking for. Those 2 things. I always like to ask that. Speak it y'all to me.
It's still a 12th year.
Thank you very much.
I underlined it just so I can go back to it.
She's going to be ready for my question, right? I keep going over that one question. Yes, the 12th year continue. And what's the time frame of this timing of this chapter? We got the year. Now, what's the timing of this chapter?
Well, it was after Haman had talked the king into putting the order out to annihilate all the Jews at a later date. It was after Mordecai and had talked to Esther about her approaching the king. It was after the first banquet that she had with the king. It was after the king had a restless night and couldn't sleep and went back and checked through the records to see, about who had helped turn in the people who were trying to kill him. It was after, and I'm slightly out of order here, it was after Haman had his intense I'm wonderful moment. After having been invited, after having had attended the first banquet with Esther and the king, and then invited back for the next day, and then saw that Mordecai didn't shake and quiver in his boots as he passed by, so he was again reminded of how much he hated the guy. And after he and his wife and good friends had decided that he should construct a gallows 50 cubits high on which to hang Mordecai, and that the next morning he should ask the king to say that it was okay to get Mordecai killed. And then he approached the king in the middle of the morning, very early in the morning, right after the king had found out that Mordecai had never been rewarded for having reported the assassination attempt against him. And then the king asked, it was directly after Haman, upon being asked by the king what the king should do in order to honor somebody who had, was favored by the king. And Haman laid that on very, very thick, and then found out that it was supposed to happen to Mordecai. And Haman had to take Mordecai through that, and then reported all this to his wife and friends, and found out that he was going to be in major trouble if Mordecai was a Jew. And at that point in time, the eunuchs came to take him away to go to the second banquet.
Now, she gave you all a very good review, didn't she?
She did.
She gave us the timing of what's going on, and that's excellent. That's excellent review because she gave us the timing of what we're about to see. Very good. So now, where was the king and Haman and why? Where are they now in this chapter and why? Where's King and Haman?
They were with Esther, and they were drinking.
But here's the question. I said, where was the king and Haman? You said they were Esther, and why? Why were they there? I know they were drinking, but why were they there?
It was the second day of the banquet.
Right, I want y'all to remember these things and write these things down. Don't forget those things. That yes, they were there, what they were doing, but they were there for the second banquet. Very good. I want y'all to make a note of that. Remember that. Okay, the second banquet. Very good. What does the king ask and say to the queen, and why?
He had asked her, "What is your petition?" And he wanted so he could grant it to her. And then asked her what her request was, and he was going to give her up to half his kingdom.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what he asked her. Very good. How many times did the king ask her what was her request? How many times did he do this?
This is the third.
Very good. This is the third time he's asked her. This is the third time he's asked her. Why didn't the queen answer previously? I know everybody's quiet on that one. I'm waiting to see who's going to answer me correctly. It's a challenge question, y'all.
Because she hadn't revealed that she was Jewish.
Yeah.
So he didn't know her. Can y'all hear me?
Yes, I heard. I didn't hear the beginning part of what you said. Could you say it again?
Okay. Esther had not revealed that she was Jewish. So isn't that why he ended up asking her, because she didn't give responses, because she had not. I may be confused. I'm going back in my corner.
She's so funny. No, you're not confused. That was the reason that you just gave was why most likely she was hesitant when Mordecai told her to go to the king. But I want you all to see if you're right. So you're not off base in that sense. But the question is, why didn't the queen answer previously? The 2 times prior to this, prior to the 3rd time, she did not answer. And my question was, why didn't she answer the first 2 times? And I want to see if someone's going to give me the right answer.
I guess we don't know.
Ah, there it is. I was waiting.
Scripture doesn't tell us that. And I didn't know if you were asking us for the correct answer like that or the speculative answer.
No, I wanted someone to say we really don't know. However, now, what are some of the speculations that we have? This is important because we are so afraid to say that as believers. We're afraid to say, the scripture doesn't tell us. It really doesn't give us the why. And that's fine of an answer, isn't it, ladies?
Yep.
That was a challenge. Now, what is the speculation? Some of your speculations as to why possibly she did not answer previously. Let's see what you think. Maybe. These are maybes.
Well, she did answer. She just didn't answer because she invited them originally to the banquet for the first day, and then when he said it to her again after the banquet, then she invited him to the banquet the next day.
Yep.
So she's given him answers. It just wasn't the answer that we're all waiting for her to give.
Right. She didn't answer really what she wanted. So why do you think she didn't actually tell him on the first day or the second day what her situation was? And this is speculation, but just throw some things out that you think could have been.
Maybe she was trying to gain courage to do it.
That's a good point.
And she was still trying to work through that as mentally and intellectually. Maybe she was trying to come up with a better game plan, trying to make sure exactly how she was going to do it and how this was going to go down. Maybe it was nothing more than just to bring the king and Haman together as a reminder that he was the second in command, so to speak, the right-hand man to the king. Maybe it was just to keep the king aware of her presence and her favor, and to fix the good meal and get wine in his belly and have her beauty and everything displayed so that he would be react more positively toward her. So I don't know.
That's true.
I don't know.
Go ahead, Karen.
I like that. I like the last one in particular because she had not been
right for
in
30
his
days
for right before that. So now she's reminded him of how wonderful she is and how much he liked her,
Very good. These are good speculations. We don't know, but these are good assumptions or speculations as to maybe why she didn't reveal. And so, you know me with my side notes. I got a side note because I had said similar to what Lisa said, but I said maybe to set the right environment for what she had to say. To set that right environment for what she's getting ready to tell him. And that also goes back to what Sherry said, was the fact that she had not revealed her ethnicity to him. Okay, now she's got to set the right environment, okay, for what
Right.
she getting ready to tell him, okay? And so my side note was, as I'm always studying, I'm thinking and pondering, everything does not have to be done or revealed in a hurry.
Right.
Sometimes to err on the side of caution is expedient. There are times when silence is better, and carefully considering as to when to reveal something is wiser. Okay?
Mhm.
Um, this is a serious thing that she is about to reveal. It can go two ways. Okay? He can grant her request, or he could get angry with her for not revealing her heritage until now. So, see, it could have gone two ways. So
Yeah.
she, and I was just thinking about that. That's just, she didn't reveal it quickly. She took her time, three times before she tells him her answer, and that made me think everything does not have to be revealed quickly, because we are prone to do what? Babylon at the mouth, aren't we?
Yep.
We're
Speak,
real quick to explode
speak
stuff.
before we
Sometimes,
think. Right. Yeah.
yeah, we're real quick to say stuff. And sometimes we need to shut up. I'm just gonna say shut up. People don't like the word shut up. They always tell me don't say shut up. I think sometimes some of us need to shut up. Not be quiet, just plain shut up. Because we reveal too much.
Zip it.
No,
That's what I say.
zip it.
You just need
Yes,
to zip it.
there are days that you have to say to some kids, zip it. That is not, I'm not telling you to be quiet. I want you to zip it. Say no more out of your mouth. Because, see, some days you reveal too much. You
Yeah.
really do. We take go too far. And sometimes we need to
Yeah.
close our lips, shut our little mouths, okay? And so that came to the side note. So then here's another question. How does the queen present her case to the king? How does she present it?
Mm.
It asks that she has found favor in her sight, okay.
Say it again, Carmen.
Oh, let me see. Okay, so it's she has found. She asked them if he has found favor in your sight.
Okay. I want you to tell me, y'all tell me, okay, that's part of it. How does she present it? Come on, think about it, ladies. She said, okay,
If if um, if he would give her, let her life be given to her, spare her life. So she's presenting it as she just doesn't want to die. And if I am important to you, please spare my life.
okay, that's what Donna and Carmen says. Carmen says about favor. Donna says if it's important to you, to spare my life. Anybody else want to chime in?
Well, her life and her people,
Mm-hmm.
and that she's also presenting it that they've been sold, she and her people, to be destroyed, to be killed, annihilated. And if they were sold merely as slaves, she wouldn't have bothered him about it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, but it's because they're going to be killed that
Very good.
she's bringing it to his attention.
Good. You
And
all said several things. Go ahead, Lisa.
and I would
Oh, what,
say
Lisa?
I thought that it was no, all that is what you guys have said is very good. But I thought she had a very good tact. She did not say I'm Jewish, and my people are the Jews. She left that part out. She appealed to him on the basis of, I guess, her relationship and how she pleased him.
Mm-hmm.
Save my life, save my people. And she didn't say that exactly yet. I thought that was interesting. This reminded me of Moses before Pharaoh in a way. Let my people go. And she also, what Karen said about being sold, destroyed, killed, annihilated, she just quoted back what Haman had put in the edict. And the 10,000 talents of silver or whatever it was that he was going to give the king for it. 3,947 and then 313.
Very good. Now, see, that was going to be my very next question from what I was piggybacking off of what Karen said. Because Karen included the part about being sold. And I wanted to say, why did she use the terminology sold? And Lisa answered it. Because of the money factor that Haman put in there. Very good. If you all remembered that he included money. It wasn't just, he was willing to pay So they had been sold for this. Very good, very
Yeah,
good.
and as Karen said, if she remarked about being sold as just slaves, so she was playing on his ego as king and letting him know, if it just been about that, just being sold as slaves, because that was a common practice, of course, that would be beneath even bringing before the king. Almighty One, you don't need to be bothered with something like that. But this is something big. Oh, king of mine, kind of thing. So she played it up. She didn't lie or anything.
No, she didn't.
She played it up. And I thought it was interesting to compare what she did with what Haman did when he brought his request before the king to make and to destroy the Jews. But we don't have to go into all that. I just thought it was kind of curious. Anyway, she just presented the truth.
I thought it was very powerful. Very powerful. Even if you take out the part about if we'd merely been sold as slaves, just saying that. We've been sold, I and my people, to be destroyed, to be killed and annihilated. And it's a powerful statement, especially if he's remembering how fond of her he was.
Yeah.
So now I put down, and just looking at it as how the presentation went, something like this. One, she presented her request to him with respect. She respected the position he was in. Because she said, the way she termed it, a lot of the people go and they always, even when we looked at Daniel and other people, they always gave respect to the position of the king. She came right out the gate with the respect to the king. 2, then she tells her circumstances and the circumstances of her people. That's all she does. And then 3, she appeals to his authority. Because that's the part that Karen brought in. So this is kind of how her game plan went, which was very interesting, which is what you just said. So now, what didn't she do? What didn't she do? Did anyone notice something?
Well, she didn't actually say she was Jewish, actually.
Yeah, she didn't.
That's one thing. She didn't say she was Jewish.
She also, at that point in time, she also didn't turn it against Haman. She does like the next
Very
verses.
good.
Yep.
Very good. Perfect.
Yeah,
she didn't point the finger.
Yeah, she didn't come say, that man over there, you should let me just tell you what that man did.
She
like
did
a lot
not
of women.
do that.
That's how a lot of women will do it. Let me just
she did not point the finger at Haman. She was not accusatory. Pay close attention. She never mentioned about Haman at that point. She did not. And of course, you all know I got a side note, y'all. I got a little side time. Sometimes it's best not to be so quick to expose others' sins.
Yeah.
She only told what was necessary for her survival and her people's survival. Her main concern was her people and herself. She could have exposed him right away. Okay, and I'm reminded, and as I was writing this out, I'm reminded of the scripture that tells us to be slow to speak, slow to anger, and quick to listen, because she answers. She actually answers what was asked of her. So she could have added that section on about Haman, but the king asked her what was her request. What did she need? And she answered exactly what the king answered. That's a good, people who are in the legal field learn to do that early. They always tell you, if you ever have to testify, only answer what was asked.
Right.
For instance, if I asked you, do you know what time it is? What should be your response?
Yes.
Thank you. But usually, how do we respond?
Well, it's 5:31 a.m.
But that's not what I asked you.
Nope.
Right. And that's the thing you learn if you have to, I've been a shop steward and all that kind of stuff. Now, you always tell the people, don't answer anything other than what's asked. Why? Because you usually have running office or the mouthers.
You put your foot in your mouth.
Yeah, it's also true if you're being audited. I don't mean like a financial audit. I mean like if your company is like if the FDA comes into your company or
answer only
like
what asked.
If you're being audited,
don't volunteer information.
Yeah.
If I didn't ask you about the green toad in the side of the drawer, I don't mention the green toad in the side of the drawer. Because I didn't ask you that.
Because once you say something about something, then it's open for conversation
Yes.
and dialogue.
Right.
And then you're like, oh,
And,
no.
and this is a
That's why
lesson
they keep me away. They
Oh, you
keep me
so
away from
funny.
those auditors.
But you know what? It's a life lesson for all of us.
Can
Because
I
I
say
think sometimes we talk too much. Go ahead. Who's
Yeah.
going to say something?
me? I
Okay.
remember because I work at a preschool, and the state walked in to the preschool, and they asked me a couple questions, and I kind of gave a lot of information,
Oh.
and I opened up a couple doors, which I'm kind of glad because I hate places that hide stuff. So I got in trouble with this.
Yeah, I'm quite sure.
Information, and well, I didn't know. They asked me a question and I answered it the way they wanted me to say it, but I wasn't supposed to give all that information.
Yeah.
But it definitely
Of
did pertain.
Of
I'm
course,
sorry,
we're
Lisa, go
not
ahead.
condoning lying.
No, that's
In
not
this
going to say that.
conversation, we're not saying that you lie. You
No.
answer what you're asked and to the best of your ability.
Yeah,
Right.
but
Without giving any unnecessary information. That's all.
But it's not just talking about workforce. It also talks about us in life.
Yeah.
Because sometimes someone will ask us something that's necessarily family related or personal or that relates to other people. And they may ask us one question and we tend to give additional information that's not necessary.
Right.
And we expose other sins that we don't necessarily need to be doing. We step out of place. And that's what I'm saying. When I'm thinking about the fact that I think sometimes we have run off as a mouthers. We just, we talk too much. We tell too much. We half listen and tell a whole lot. And that's really not good. We need to listen to what we're being asked and say no more. Because some things are not yet to be revealed. And you even learned that in the time of Christ, his life when he walked. There was not everything had to be revealed right then. Sometimes you don't have to tell everything, but sometimes we do. Yes. Okay.
I'll give you a real life example, just a quick one. And it's not bad or good, but one thing, my husband is a physician. So one thing we learned early on from a lot of the physicians that took us under their wing as he was training is you don't put your name in the phone book. That's back when we had phone books. You know how you used to have your name and your address listed in a phone book 50,000 years ago. And you don't do that. There's a lot of things you don't do to expose your husband because he could be sued for various things. So we all get asked the question a lot, where do you work? Where do you work? Where do you work? Where do you work? So we've got this little hierarchy of the way we answer that. We just say he works at the base. And they'll say, oh, well, with Travis. Well, what do you do? Then we'll say he works in the lab. And we keep going all the way down through this little checklist until we're pushed into the corner to actually cough up. Not that it's a bad thing. It's still just a reaction that we've learned over the years to be careful who you let know certain things, you know what I mean? And you guys may not understand all that, but if people know you have any kind of money in this life and they hit your car, they may sue you or, all kinds of things. And we just try to make sure that we don't let it, that's not the very first thing we say. He's a pathologist that works at, we just don't say that right up front. That comes like the fifth or sixth thing, or even I do that, just being, and that's just an example that's neither good nor bad.
No,
but
it's not condoning lying. It's not. No. It's simply saying not everything is necessarily need to be given out, and that's something we have to learn.
Yeah, even on your Facebook profile.
Right. Oh, please!
I don't put anything on my Facebook profile.
Yeah. Well, I have that I work for Kodak because I did, but I don't have my current employer.
Yep.
Down because I don't work for Kodak anymore, so that's okay. But with my current employer,
it's not even the current employee. They put put way more than that on their profile.
Oh, I know they do. But somebody had suggested to me just put down that you work or something like that. You don't say where you work. That too. And they're absolutely right.
Yeah. Yeah. We reveal, and I'm just period. In our walk of life, we ought to be transparent, yes. But sometimes we share things that it's not just us. We share stuff about other people.
Right.
You know what I mean? We include, when I tell you the time we do it, and then I'm going to move on from here. Because this is one that's really big for us. We share things in prayer requests that I think is dangerous. I think that is one of the most dangerous areas because instead of just sharing the person's first name and to pray for their back, we have to go into great detail as to how they got where they are, okay? Right. And I've seen it all too often in prayer requests that they have revealed some serious personal information about other people that we really don't want to do.
Gossip and slander. Right.
Yeah, and we have to be so careful as believers not to do that. That's why I say sometimes it's, we don't want to expose people's sin quickly, and we want to, and we want to be careful, only to answer what was asked, and that's what she did. She didn't expose Haman. She only asked what was asked. She only answered what was asked of her. Now, what is the king's response to her? I'm sorry.
Well, actually, not only did she not reveal who Haman was, she could also have gone off on the king too, because he was stupid enough to agree to kill off subjects of his, from his kingdom. Yeah, just on the say so of Haman.
Yeah, so she was really, really wise in the way she did it. But go ahead.
Defense, I gotta like little old King Ahasuerus. He did not know that she was Jewish because she had not.
Oh, I know. No, I don't mean that. I mean just from the standpoint of.
I wonder if it would have been different if he knew that about her. If he would have said, "Haman, what in the world are you talking about?"
I don't know.
I don't know. I have no idea.
Well, going beyond the fact that whether or not she was Jewish or that it was the Jews in particular. Just on the say-so of Haman that he would knock off an ethnic group in his kingdom.
Yeah.
Yep.
That wasn't good.
Well, they're all drunk, I mean,
not good at all.
What a fool, right? I mean, she could have gone after him on that, too, and she didn't.
She did. She used wisdom. She really did use wisdom.
She did.
So what
anyway,
is the king?
Your answer to your question was he was enraged, and he goes, "What? Who is it? Where is he? And who in the world would do something like this?"
Right. Now, how does Queen Esther respond? How does she describe Haman? That's all I want. Now listen, how does she respond and how does she describe Haman? What did she do? What did she say, ladies? Let me hear from someone that's quiet.
She said he was a foe and an enemy.
Cool.
Is this wicked Haman?
Yes.
Haman.
That's all she said. Notice that I love how her answer is, foe, enemy, wicked Haman. In the conversation. She's still doing what? Only answering what he asked. She didn't go and elaborate. Well, he's this kind of person and all he do all that. She answered the question and move on, right?
Right.
So what was Haman's reaction and why? Yeah, I love it.
Terrified.
Yeah.
He peed in his pants. That's what I Okay.
That's
right there.
That's why you read all those 8 different translations to get that part of it.
He became terrified.
You didn't understand.
He became terrified, and what else did you do?
In that section?
We're moving on to different verses?
Or moving on?
Pay attention to my... I'll get him this
for his life from the queen.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And the question was why?
Oh, you said why? Wait, what? Why?
You said all of that and now answered the why to it.
Because he didn't want to die.
Right. He begged for his life.
Well,
he was
he
terrified.
was afraid he was going to be in some kind of trouble, I guess.
Right. Because the scripture says
why would he think that?
I wonder, right? Yeah. But right, the why to it is definitely that he saw that he was doomed. He saw the doom coming.
Yeah. Because he remembered, I think it says it right, that he remembered. Oh, maybe that's not right. That's something I'm thinking. Never mind. Excuse me.
No, I'm going to say, no, I don't remember
But it's got to be a desperate, it's got to be a desperate situation if the king leaves his drinking.
Yeah.
Right. Okay, so Haman's reaction was being terrified, and he begs for his life from Queen Esther.
And this is why I think maybe one of the reasons Esther did this was to make sure that she was in the most favorable position she could be before the king, because he had seen her now 3 times. He had food and wine in his belly. He presented the truth. And now she calls, this was his best bud in a way. Haman was the guy he always turned to. He let him make an edict. I don't even think King Xerxes even paid attention to the edict. He didn't probably look at it. He didn't sign it. He just gave the ring to Haman, if you remember how the story went.
Right.
So he trusts Haman. Anything Haman says, King Xerxes says, like, okay, whatever, sure, Haman. And he even got Haman's opinion on what to do with someone that he wanted to honor, because Haman happened to be in the court, but he valued his opinion that much. And then Haman, when Esther finally comes to the culmination, she says, instead of just saying it's Haman, she called him a foe and an enemy. I think to nail the put the nail on the cross, so to speak, to appeal to the king's sense of justice. because this was his best bud. I'm going to use those terms loosely, okay? This was his right-hand man. And she called him a foe and an enemy. She didn't say it's your best friend over there, your court advisor, your second in charge, Haman. She called him the foe and the enemy. I think trying her best to make sure she hit the nail on the head with it, because the king needed, because now he's going to be torn. I think that's why he left. I mean, we're getting into the next part, but maybe because he was angry with Haman, maybe he realized he was duped with that edict. Maybe it's all coming back to him now. He's got his beautiful wife over here. Whoa, what in the world? And she hasn't even revealed still that she's Jewish, unless he's putting it all together. She's never said those words, but he may, and I guess he just had to walk away and think, oh no, what am I going to do? Maybe, I don't know.
Right.
Okay.
Anyway.
So here's the next question. Although you all have intimated to it, what was the king's reaction when he learned who it was and why? Look at his reaction.
Anger.
Anger.
But read the scripture. Anger what?
He arose in his anger and he left and went out to the garden, the palace garden.
Okay, now which version are you reading?
That is NASB.
Read it again.
The king, verse 7, the king arose in his anger from drinking wine and went into the palace garden.
So he arose in his anger from drinking wine, which I thought was interesting. And
right, that's my point, that he was upset enough that he was able to leave
and
drinking the
he
wine.
loves his wine. He loves his wine.
Yep.
So now, Lisa kind of intimated to some of what I was getting ready to ask on the side note. So let's see what others think about it. I said, what do you think his motivation for being angered was? Okay. Was it, okay, angered was for more, okay, I'm trying to read my writing. What do you think his motivation for being angered was more from? From being drunk, or from what was happening to Queen Esther, or what was it? What was his anger? Why do you? This is what you think. And Lisa's kind of talked about it a bit. Let me hear what the other ladies think. Do you think it was the anger? We think that liquor was motivating him in his anger. What do you think?
I think his drinking wine was making him angry.
Gave him more anger toward it. Okay. Yeah. Well, there's some else thing.
That kind of filled it up,
Okay, that has to hedge it on a little bit. Okay.
I think it was from what just happened. I mean, from the revelation about Haman being responsible for them, and my point about the drinking was that he was upset about it enough that he stopped drinking.
Okay, that's Karen. Ola told me.
Yeah, I was thinking that it could be because Haman was his right-hand man, and he might have felt duped to see that he put so much trust in this person, and this was the person that did what he did.
Okay.
Yep.
Just want to hear your thoughts on that as we think through the process. Very good. So why do you think Haman begged the queen and not the king for his life?
He realized she had the power at the moment.
Very good. Yeah. I like that. Yes. Why does she have the power? Very good, Janet. Why does she have the power?
She was in the king's favor at the moment. He was listening to her.
Yeah.
That's one. What's the second thing? It's another reason. I have y'all forgotten.
She's the queen.
She's the queen.
She's the queen. That's one of the, yes, because she's the queen, but no more than that. Y'all are missing something.
She was in the room.
She's in the room. She's Jewish, but you're still missing something. What had the king said to her?
He was going to give her half the kingdom.
Up to half the kingdom.
So her power was legitimate, wasn't it?
Yes.
Because she had the power that had she asked the king to spare Haman, because of what he said, he would have been able to grant it, wouldn't he?
Yes, probably.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Because he had said he would grant what she asked up to half the kingdom.
Half his kingdom.
So Haman wasn't stupid, right?
Nope.
He went to the person that had a little bit of power that could help him.
Right.
He begged the queen, which I thought was interesting. Anybody who look at that would think, why were you begging the queen? Because she's not the one getting ready to order your death. It's the king. So who do you need to be begging the king? But he went to the queen. Wasn't stupid. He wasn't. It's still in his. He had enough sense to go ask the right person. Unfortunately, what we know. Okay. So, next question. Describe the scene in verse 8. describe the scene in verse 8. Who'd like to do that? And when I say describe, I don't mean read me the scripture, y'all. Don't just read the verse. I want you to describe the scene to me in verse 8. Put it in your own words. Tell me what happened. Describe it.
The king returned to the palace, and Haman was on the couch close to Esther. And then I think it's the king said, well, he could probably, assault her in front of me in my own house. That's what I.
Okay. That good enough for y'all?
Yep.
Okay. So here's the thought. Okay. So here we got this scene. The king is now he leaves with his anger, right?
Mm-hmm.
He comes back in. There's Haman, who's fallen on the couch.
Yep.
And he's begging for his life. And the king immediately thinks that she's being assaulted. And I said, did any questions, here's my point. Did any questions pop up in your mind when you read verse 8? Did anybody have any questions?
I think he was jealous.
Okay, that's what you thought. Okay, good. Okay.
What did falling on the couch mean?
Yeah. Okay, good. That's a good question. Any other questions pop in your mind when you read verse 8?
Falling on the couch, I think he was just laying there. I picture him just laying there,
Okay.
And
Okay.
What was Esther's reaction?
Yeah.
What was Esther's reaction? This could be anything. This is one of those questions. What do you think? Then any questions may have popped up when you read verse 8. Sometimes questions pop up in our mind. And I was just curious.
I was wondering what the king thought. He came back and he probably had a decision, so I was wondering at that moment before he saw Haman what appeared to be sexually assaulting or just physically assaulting Esther, whatever going on. I wonder what he had decided in his mind to do. Because then he sees this, and I wonder if it changed what he was going to do. I don't know if it would have or not.
Right.
We don't know.
We don't know, but I'm just saying, looking at the verse and seeing that verse and really looking at it, he comes back in. It caused me to wonder, where exactly did Haman fall? Yeah. I mean, because the way the king saw it, was like, okay, now how did he get to that? And then my second thought was the king so drunk and angry that he saw what he wanted to see? Because, remember, this man is begging for his life, so I'm trying to figure out, what was he doing? We don't have the scripture does not give us all of that. That's the thing. So we don't have all I pictured was him falling on the couch begging. I saw a man, maybe his hands, please, But now, it makes you wonder, what was he really doing? What kind of begging was he doing? Grabbing her, pleading with her, saying what? Because the king thought he was assaulting her, right?
Right.
He thought he was assaulting her. So that makes you wonder exactly how was he positioned and what was his demeanor completely, Very good. So now, who spoke up next and what did they say?
The eunuch spoke, Harbonah.
Okay, what did he say, y'all?
The Harbonah, one of those 7 eunuchs back in 110, he said, "Oh, guess what? I just passed. There's this big gallows, this tree hanging right back there at Mordecai's house. At Haman's house. Sorry. Why don't we just put him up on that? And hang him up.
But not even just that, because those gallows had been prepared for Mordecai, who had saved the king's life.
Who had saved the king's life.
So lay it on thick.
Yep.
So it makes me wonder. Well, that's just one of the questions of this section. I guess Harbonah really like Esther. So.
Well, here's a cool thing. But here's the cool part.
Somebody cut off.
Hello?
Hello?
Okay.
I can hear a couple of y'all.
Sharice, just go bye-bye.
No, my daughter keeps calling my phone. Hold on a second, you all. Let me stop this. Don't say nothing. Let me pause this for 1 minute. 1 second.
I get up at 4:30 just so I can get awake and walk my dogs and feed them.
Okay, I'm back, y'all. I'm sorry. I had to get my husband to stop her from bringing the phone. Somebody said something on the chat box. I see. Did someone say something?
No.
Yeah.
I mean, it's an old chat box is all I see. Nothing.
Oh, somebody. I must have missed it because I just saw one pop up. That's why.
I've been talking away.
Oh, okay. All right.
But
So now,
Cerise,
yes.
you missed one part there though because they also had covered his face,
Yeah.
Yes.
They
which
covered
meant
it.
that was like a
his
sign
face.
of this is it for you, Haman.
Yes. Did I have somebody say something?
No.
Somebody-
I heard somebody say something, but I don't know if they were in our group.
Yeah. We've got a stranger in here.
Let's see. I heard something too. That's why I stopped.
That's
Sounded
why-
like the TV or something.
Okay. And so, right, I'm glad y'all pointed out the fact that when y'all said that. Now, what points stand out to you from verse 9? And let's look carefully at it, okay? You all named some things, but let's look carefully at verse 9. The first point was what? That there were gallows, right?
Yep.
Where were these gallows at?
Haman's house.
Haman's.
Haman's house. So he had made the gallows, okay, we know that, but we're at his house. What's another thing we see there?
How high they were.
They were made for Mordecai.
They were
Oh,
made
yeah,
for
right.
Mordecai.
How high they were, right? 50.
How high they were, and they're made for
Yeah.
Mordecai.
Made for Mordecai.
So
And they
that
pointed
right,
out that Mordecai had saved the king's life.
Right.
very good. Now let's go back to that second one before we get to Mordecai save the king's life.
Okay.
That second one. If you notice, who is telling this to the king?
Harbonah, the
Oh, no.
eunuch.
Okay, so that means what? That the plot to kill Haman on those gallows was known.
Right.
Yep.
Well, we don't get
Or
that.
did the plot to kill Mordecai on those gallows?
Yeah, kill
Oh, I'm going to say
Mordecai.
Mordecai, I'm sorry. Not Haman. Mordecai on those
We know,
gallows
Haman.
was known. That it was known. Now, you don't get that in all the other, when you read the other chapters. All we know is that the friends have told, remember, the friends and the wife had told him to make this gallows. He was headed to the king's court to do just that, right? To request to have have Mordecai hung. Before he could do it, he ends up having to tow him around and celebrate him.
Yep.
Then he goes back home to complain, right?
Right.
To his wife, and then the eunuchs come and get him. So nowhere did you get the indication that he ever got an opportunity to present this. However, it was clearly known in the king's court what he had plotted to do to Mordecai.
Maybe Harbonah had been one of the eunuchs that went to get him.
True.
We don't know.
That's
We're
true.
not told who went.
But even if he went to get him, how would he know it was for Mordecai? He just
Maybe,
see
like I said, maybe he heard about all of it or something.
Okay, that's true, but I just think that's interesting. These are just interesting points, that this was no secret, that it was known what he had planned to do.
Or maybe Haman told him. You know, Haman runs his mouth, and he knew Harbonah and the 7 eunuchs that the king appointed to bring Vashti out. This was the same eunuch that was supposed to bring Vashti out way back in chapter 1 and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
It could be Haman was just chewing the fat with them, just talking to him. Yeah, you see that? Oh, I can't wait. I'm going to get the king to let me kill Mordecai. You know,
But then
know.
also at the end of chapter 4, at the end of chapter 6, says while they were still talking with him, the king's eunuchs arrived.
Right.
And what they had been talking about was, if Mordecai, before he began to fall, is of the Jewish people, you will not overcome him, but will surely fall upon him. So anyway.
Good point.
They could have heard that, right?
Yeah.
Those are very good points, ladies. I'm not saying they're wrong points. I'm just pointing out the fact that it was known. It wasn't a secret at this point. Somebody knew besides the wife, the friends, and Haman. Okay? And then
somebody may not have been a real pro-Haman either.
That's true.
Yep.
It may not have been.
That's what I'm thinking. Harbonah probably was for Queen Esther, was for the women, or for the king, not for Haman.
And so, yes, I agree that the eunuch then reminded the king of what Mordecai had done. And this is not too far. Now, remember the timing of this, right? What had just happened with Mordecai?
King had just honored Mordecai. That's going to put the cherry on top of this whole big dessert of Haman's Esther.
Yeah. Very good, ladies. Very good. Now, side note. I got a side note.
Side note.
Side note, y'all. Your works will speak for you. You don't have to toot your own horn.
Great.
Haman's work spoke for him. It spoke judgment. And Mordecai's works also spoke for him because he was rewarded. So you don't have to, your works will speak for you. The world teaches self-promotion is necessary for success. But really, is it?
No.
No, it's not. Very good. Because we can learn that lesson right from Haman and Mordecai, can't we?
Yeah.
Right.
Because what they did spoke for them, and they didn't have to, Mordecai got a reward. Yes, it was years later that he gets rewarded. Okay, but his work spoke for himself, the fact that he tried to protect the king. And Haman's works are now speaking for him because he's getting ready to go to judgment, isn't it? For all that he's been plotting and doing. Okay, very good. So now what did the king order? How did his order affect him, affect the king? What did the king order and how did it affect him?
He ordered Haman to be hanged on the gallows, and when that was done, his anger subsided.
Yep.
His anger subsided. Very good. So what happened to Haman? Well, what happened to him? He was
They
hanged
hanged him.
on the very
And that's how
Yes.
the king's orders affected Haman, was that he got killed.
He got killed, yes. He
Yeah.
was killed on the very gallows that he prepared for Mordecai.
So
Very
poetic justice.
Right.
That's what I said.
Right.
Poetic justice.
Poetic
I
justice.
think that's what happens when you talk too much.
Sometimes, yes.
Yeah.
Sometimes our talking too much gets us in trouble, right?
Yep.
And there's a side note. I got one. So planning revenge can be your own pit. When you plan revenge, because remember now, from what we've studied so far about Haman, he has been plotting revenge since he came on the scene, just about, hasn't he?
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And it was his own pit. It became his own pit. Why?
And I've got a verse because I love when you bring all your Bible studies together.
Yes.
Been studying the Psalms. Most of us in this group are in that Psalms group. And Psalm 7 verses 15 and 16. This is about the wicked, the one who sets out to do plans and lies and does everything to create mischief. He has dug a pit and hollowed it out and has fallen into the hole which he made. His mischief will return upon his head, and his violence will descend upon his own plate.
Mm-hmm.
There you go. That's exactly what happened to Haman.
Yes. And that's something we need to, this side note, looking at planning revenge can be your own pit. It can be.
Yeah.
Now, this happened to Haman. Yes, it happened. It was a historical account of what went on Haman. Guess what? Some of this goes on even today, doesn't it? So we must remember that. Okay, it's a remembering thing. And so why would Haman's hanging, and Karen kind of said that a little bit. She kind of intimated to a little bit. Why would Haman's hanging subside the king's anger? I thought that was interesting. What was his anger really about? What do you think? Okay, because go ahead, Doris. Donna.
I kind of think that it's all the things that were mentioned before when the king was mad, but what Haman chose to do was to kill the queen, the king's favorite, and he set him up. And I think the king felt like Haman was out to do evil to his queen, and he did it sneakily, and he just was mad about that. So, and he just didn't like it, so it pissed him off. And when he was going to hang him, and just, okay, fine, now you want to mess with me? I got you. That's
okay.
In a nutshell.
Okay, good. That's Donna. Anybody else? Think about it now. I'm just asking you to think a little bit. We're just thinking, we can recount everything, but I'm asking you to think through the process a little bit. Could it be?
Of course,
go
Haman.
ahead,
Yeah, go ahead. Well, I was going to say Haman didn't realize that he was going after the queen, though.
Right.
He thought he was just going after Mordecai.
Right.
Right.
And I think he might not have done it quite that way if he had realized he was going against.
Yeah, he probably would have
the queen.
Right. Good.
I just think that just simply that he was the object of the king's wrath at that moment in time, for whatever the reason, and it just assuaged that wrath. Could be a drunken part of it too, that, okay, this was done, okay, the object of my wrath is gone, yes. And he just kind of, because we even do that, If it's the spider you're scared of, and then that's not wrath, but you know what I mean? The object that we're focusing on at that moment in time is taken care of somehow, then we feel better about it. So.
Mm-hmm.
But one thing I did think. Well, we'll get to that later. I guess impressions. Anyway. Go ahead.
Okay. Anybody else want to chime in on what was he really angry about, or why do you think Haman hanging would subside the king's anger? Anybody else want to share their thoughts on that? Don't want to leave nobody out. I pondered a little bit. Was it this betrayal by Haman, or his
Yeah.
perceived betrayal? You know, or by the plight of his queen, of the queen. I mean, any of those things could have been, um, his, why he was really angry and what really bothered him.
What about his own foolishness? His
That
own
too.
stupidity as king.
Yeah.
He's the most powerful man in the world as far as he was concerned. And he signed an edict that would have done this. If this is all coming together in his brain, and I'm still not 100% sure
Right.
that this
That's
is
what I'm
all
saying.
coming together in his brain about that.
If he even realized that, if he even remembered
Yeah.
what he had done,
Yeah.
Right.
because he was drunk.
Because remember,
Right.
if we go
Right.
back to that, Haman did that quickly, and then the king said, "Yeah, let's go drink." And they started drinking just
Yeah.
immediately after all that was done.
Because she never mentions, all she does is, remember what Queen Esther does? She never says the edict that you signed. All she says was repeated
Nope.
what the edict
Right.
said.
Yeah.
That doesn't necessarily mean he knows she's talking about that edict that he signed. That doesn't necessarily, at this point, because we haven't moved on to 8 yet. So at this point, from where we are, it doesn't necessarily mean that he realizes that it's the Jews that she's talking about.
Yeah.
Right, because
All
he
he
has
knows-
right.
Doesn't
Right.
remember that- yeah, that's not
Right. All he knows is that she said that foe, enemy, and wicked Haman that's deciding to kill me.
Yeah.
And
And I
my
wonder, as a king, the Persian king who was arrogant and all that we talked about from chapter 1,
people.
if
Mhm.
maybe the core reason wasn't the fact that he was just embarrassed and humiliated as king, that he could have let this person, maybe that's
Mhm.
what it was about, who tried to hurt his queen. That's pretty evident he's going with that. And did this in his
Mhm.
court, right there under his wing, his right-hand man.
Right.
How's that going to look? I don't know.
Yeah.
Again, we're
Well, and
speculating at this point.
even that, if you just go with the point of he thinks that Haman was assaulting her when he walked back in,
Right.
you know,
Mhm. In his
then
own
he's had
house.
right, then he's had his revenge, and so he's not going to be.
Yep.
He's had his revenge against Haman,
There's the
and then he's feeling better.
Good points. Because when you think about it, I like that, because you think about it, ladies. Think about it a minute. When he came back into the palace, came back into where they were, the banquet, the things he said was, "You're going to assault her." I'm paraphrasing. "You're going to assault her in front of me in my own house." I mean, you bold.
Yeah.
Okay, because that's what he saw in his mind. Well, we don't know what was going on. We can't get, we got definitely. I got a different picture. Put it like this: I had one picture when Haman fell. I had a different picture when the king came back in, or what he's doing.
Right.
In my mind. So, because he felt insulted that you would do this not only to the queen, yes, but to do it in front of me and in my own house.
Yeah.
I mean, what is that? So, yes.
And one thing you also
something.
got to remember, we're using our 21st century minds, but which is okay because any husband should feel that way. But they had a rule. No one was to come within a certain number of feet of the women in the harem. No male was allowed to be with any women of the harem outside of the eunuchs that were specifically assigned to guard and take care and escort them. And no one was allowed to touch the queen. I looked that up, and from the historical aspect of it, those were rules. And so Haman, he broke all 3 of those. Like Karen alluded to, that could have been just what set the king off over the edge. Forget what he was going to do to Esther. Forget what he might have done with an edict. Oh my, what are you doing, man? And he just killed him immediately for what he saw when he walked back.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
Great point. Great point.
These are very good points, ladies. I hope you all are getting these down and enjoying. Okay, so now, Mama, also I'm still on the side note. We need to check why you are really angry. Make sure your anger is righteous. The Bible tells us to be angry, but sin not. So we often is looking at this and we got to really check our anger. Okay, that the anger is justified, number one, and that it's correct. It's not just anger at whatever, just exploding. Because we've seen throughout the chapters prior to this explosive anger, have we not? Anger that's just exploding all over the place, okay? And revenge never fulfills. It's only destructive. okay, and often with lasting consequences. That's what we're seeing here. Revenge never fulfills. It never does. It's only destructive and often with lasting consequences. So we definitely, throughout what we've seen, looking at the life of Haman, because as we stand right now, Haman is no longer, is he?
No.
Right.
So when we look at the life of Haman, Haman was full of anger and revenge.
Yeah.
And we got to be careful of that. Even we can learn from Haman. We can learn from Haman not to be like that, right? We can learn. So now, this brings us to the M. Okay, the M of our prime, right? So, what were your meditation? What did you come away with from studying Esther 7? Let me hear from you, ladies. What did you come away with?
Be careful. Don't say too much.
Carmen said, "Don't say too much."
And
Yeah, I definitely got that today.
if you have anger against somebody, be careful what you do because anger could get you in trouble.
Yes, it can. Very good. That's Carmen. Anybody else? Tell me when you also supposed to spend time meditating on what you read. Even if you're not doing all the note taking and all of that, and maybe putting out a couple of points, even doing light study, you're still supposed to meditate. So what did you get from your meditation time?
It just reconfirmed my thought that vengeance is mine, saith the Lord.
Yeah, that
Let
verse came out too, Donna.
let him take care of, what happens, you know what I mean? What people mean for my bad, what the devil means for my bad, God's going to work it out because everything is for his glory. So just, do your thing and let God take care of the rest.
Yes.
Very good, Donna. Good points, Donna and Carmen. Someone else. What did you get from this?
I got the same thing that Donna just said, but also I was just real impressed with how Esther did this, how she set this up. I was very impressed with that.
Very good. Very good.
I said there's a time to speak and a time to stay silent.
Yeah.
And to think before we speak. And when we speak the truth. That's what Esther did. And that the wicked may seem to have the upper hand for a season, but God will ultimately triumph and protect and secure his people, even though we may never see it in this life. We see it in the life of Haman. Esther and Mordecai and the Jewish people saw Haman get his just rewards, but we often don't see that in our own lives.
Right.
For whatever persecution or suffering or something that someone may be doing to us. And I won't go into it now, but I'm also seeing that maybe Esther's not someone we necessarily need to emulate. And I know you guys are going to go, oh, what did she just say? But she did a great job on one hand. I loved her planning and her strategy and how she did it. But on the second hand, and I know there are probably reasons why, and Scripture doesn't tell us anything about it, she kept silent when she could have spoken the truth about situations. I'm not saying it would have changed the situation because Haman still might have been executed, but she didn't tell the truth. She could have intervened, about Haman not really attacking her, but she didn't. So anyway, that's getting off the point. But it just made me start pondering. Women love to study Esther. Esther and Ruth, the two big ones women love to study. Oh, Ruth, oh, Naomi, all that kind of stuff. Nothing wrong with that. But I think Esther's gone down a few notches in my eyes, and I could talk to you about it another time about it if anyone wants to know. But I'm not holding her on the pedestal that I think I once was.
What you can do when we do the chapter 10 review, when we get to chapter 10, it's such a short chapter, and that's when we're going to do the big review and the big discussion on it. You can hold it, put a pin in it, and you can talk about what your thoughts on Esther then. That way you can get the opportunity because we got plenty of time then because the chapter is short, and we're going to be coming together.
3 verses.
Yes,
I guess the one we could all write out, right?
Right. To sum it up when we get to 10. So everybody wants to be here for the last week. Okay, that's the best. They're going to be the good week. When we're going to sum it up and really get into it. Okay, let me.
That's the one that you read in like 10 different versions.
Yes, the 10 different versions. You should be ready for that one. All right, somebody else. I've heard from Karen, Lisa, Donna, Carmen.
I would like to add a little part to what I said. I think for me an important thing to remember too is that people were praying and fasting, and we know how important that is in our. I'm sure we all know. I know it's important that we put that first. Prayer and fasting if called for to before we put our request when we're asking for something. And God's faithful to follow through with that. So I just keep going back to that. You know, she really told people to pray and really go in the battle with her. She wasn't in this battle alone. She definitely wasn't in the battle alone. So I think that was an important role in this whole situation as well.
Okay. Someone else.
Well, I took away
Well,
that.
I came. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
All right. Well, I just noticed, every time something major has happened, there's always the drinking involved, and the inhibitions maybe are totally relaxed. So don't make major decisions while you've been drinking. I guess
But that's a good point.
I guess so. Yeah.
That's a good point because
you're not thinking clearly. Maybe
there's no clear thinking if you're drunk, and that's a good point. That's a very good point.
all of the decisions have been made as a result of drinking with the king.
Yes. Well, that's a good one. Never thought about that. Yeah. Yeah.
Or to put it more succinct, don't be around the king when he's drinking. You may lose your head.
He likes a strong drink, y'all. He likes a strong drink. Okay. That's Janet. Someone else?
It's me. I'm going to speak. I looked at this and I come away with, for every action, there's an opposite and equal reaction. Physics comes to play, I guess. Haman overreacted about Mordecai not respecting him. So his overreaction to that was to set up the gallows to hang him. The king overreacts in the moment, to Haman supposedly assaulting Esther, and so he hangs him right there. The gallows itself at 50 cubits is an overreaction. It is very big to make a very bold statement. To me, a lot of Esther is in the overreaction of everything, and so the lesson for me is to be more measured in my response, more measured.
I like that.
In what I do. There's over drinking. There's if it's swinging on a pendulum, you got to get that. You got to get that ball down where it's just barely rocking.
Very good. Very good. Okay. Very good, Sherry. Anyone else? I think I got everybody except Ola told me, I think. Am I right?
Yeah.
That's Ola told me.
I'm just absorbing what everybody is saying.
Okay. That's cool. You can do that too.
Mm.
Very good. Very good. Let me give me mine, and then I conclude for the day. Mine was 1. Be selective in what I reveal about someone's situation, especially when others are involved. Okay, about situations. 2, don't be so quick to indict someone publicly when they're wrong. Don't be so quick to do that. 3, allow my works to speak for me. Watch and guard against self-promotion. And 4, never seek revenge. Trust God for justice. That's what I came away with from studying this chapter. And I thought, yeah, that's it for me. These are the things. So, ladies, that brings us to the E. And what did you all do for the E last week's E? Did you do anything? Did anybody do anything?
I haven't done anything yet, I must say.
Okay, that's cool. Did anybody do anything?
I continue to talk to my mom and my husband about it because I've been sharing it because at dinner, we talk about stuff like that at dinner. This time my sister was with me for the last few days. So I've been talking. We included her as I discussed a study this week.
But that's cool because
And
you're
she's
talking to
a
your mom and sister.
non-believer lesbian gal who's doing a spiritual drumming and dancing thing this weekend up in Northern California, and I'm going to see her again on Monday to see her off at the airport. So it's kind of interesting to see her reaction to it.
Look, that's good though. That's a way of sharing. That's really good. Good. Anybody else? Did anybody else do anything?
I shared
I
it with
didn't.
my husband.
You shared it with
Go
who?
ahead, Carmen.
With my husband.
With your husband, which is good. No, that's good.
Mhm.
Anyone else? Or Karen?
I'm going to be sharing with my daughter-in-law. After we're done with class, I'm leaving to drive to Pennsylvania and meet my son and daughter-in-law and grandkids, and I will be sharing it with her on the way back.
Very good. Very good. That's. Go ahead, Donna.
I was going to say I shared it with my boss.
All right.
Okay. These are good things, right? I'm not saying you got to, it has to be something major, If you share it with your spouse, your children, anyone, what you're learning and what you're seeing in the book of Esther, this may encourage them to do what?
Study
Bible.
Right.
Bible, or ask you more questions if they're not
Ask you more. Right. Right. This is just points, their conversation
Think about
starter.
God. Who knows?
Yes. There are beautiful things you can do. So wonderful. So consider this week sharing something to someone about what we've studied in Esther 7 in some way. Whatever way you choose, it's of your choosing. All right? And next week we'll be on Esther 8. Esther 8. Esther 8. We're going to continue to see what goes on in the life of Esther and Mordecai and King Ahasuerus. All right?
Okay.
Can I get a volunteer to close us in prayer? No volunteer today? All right, I'll close us. Let's pray. Father, we glorify you for this time you gave us to study and fellowship in your word. I pray, Father, that as we go throughout our day and week, Lord, that you would help us share this with someone else. Lord, give us wisdom and understanding on how to give the information out. Lord, as we begin to study chapter 8, speak to our hearts, oh God. Show us the truth of your word. Enlighten us, oh God, and then help us, oh God, to apply to our lives. We thank you and we praise you. In the name of the Lord Jesus, we do pray. Amen.
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 Amen.